Hello, and welcome to the James View. This podcast will be about coffee and tea and caffeine. How much caffeine is healthy to drink? Is there a point of drinking too much caffeine? And why is it something that we should be concerned about? What studies have there been done that have shown the effects of caffeine on the GI tract? So that's what we're going to get into today on the James View. Welcome to the James View. So, how much coffee should one be drinking daily? Well, daily, the recommended allowance for coffee is 250 milligrams, or no more than 250 milligrams of coffee in a day. How much caffeine is in 1 8-ounce cup of coffee? That's about 95 milligrams of caffeine in 1 8-ounce cup of coffee. So, 1 8-ounce cup of tea is about 47 milligrams of caffeine, and that's in black tea. That equals to about 5.32 cups. In comparison between coffee and tea, there's about a 2 to 3 cup difference in how much caffeine is safe to drink. In an article published in Utah State Today entitled How Much Caffeine is Too Much by Cindy Nelson was published on November 21st of 2022. She says that the Mayo Clinic recommends that adults have no more than 400 milligrams per day of caffeine, which is plus or minus 4 cups. Adolescents should have less than 100 milligrams, which is actually only equal to about 1 cup of caffeine per day, or a cup of coffee per day. And in children, they should have 0 milligrams per day. So how much caffeine is in the drinks that we have, in the medications that we take? Because caffeine is pretty much in a lot of things, and I'm sure many of us aren't even aware about, and I wasn't aware about these things when I saw them. So let's go down a quick list here. In a 5-hour energy drink, there's 200 milligrams of caffeine. Now, all of these drinks, we're looking at about a standard amount of 8 ounces. In the Monster drink, there's 172 milligrams of caffeine. Red Bull, 79 milligrams. So surprisingly, it's not really as much there, not even as a regular cup of coffee. Brewed coffee can have up to about 163 milligrams of caffeine. Average cup of coffee, as we mentioned before, is about 95 milligrams of caffeine. In iced tea, 47 milligrams of caffeine. Now here's interesting. Mountain Dew has 54 milligrams of caffeine per 8 ounces. And Coca-Cola only has 34 milligrams of caffeine per 8 ounce. Sprite has 0 milligrams of caffeine. So I'm not a big soda drinker, but if you do like to drink soda, just keep those in mind. If you want to drop your caffeine intake, Coca-Cola or Diet Coke is actually better than having a Mountain Dew. Chocolate milk is about 5 grams of caffeine in chocolate milk. Dark chocolate, now this is per ounce. In a 1 ounce servings of dark chocolate, there's about 20 milligrams of caffeine. In milk chocolate, in 1 ounce serving, 6 milligrams. In cold medicine, there's about 30 grams milligrams of caffeine per 1 tablet. Vivarin, that's what people take to kind of wake them up. In 1 tablet, there's 200 milligrams of caffeine. And here's an interesting one. In Excedrin, the pain medication, in 1 tablet, there's 130 milligrams of caffeine. So that's a lot more, or a decent amount more, than is in coffee. So if you're sensitive to caffeine, you want to read the labels on the foods that you eat, the drinks that you take in, and also on the medications as well. Because you want to make sure you stay within that 200, 250 range. Or if it bothers your stomach at all, that's something you want to keep note of. Drink plenty of water. That will also help to flush your system as well. In an article published in PubMed in January of 2022 by Astrid Nelig, that's Nehlig, entitled The Effects of Coffee on the Gastrointestinal Tract, a narrative review and literature update. Now listen to what Astrid had to say. Coffee consumption activates the secretion of the salivary alpha amylase. That's an enzyme involved in polysaccharide digestion. So amylase is an enzyme that helps to break down carbohydrates, breaking down carbohydrates and starches to turn them into simple sugars. In a randomized double-blind crossover clinical trial, it was noted that 160 milligrams of caffeine, warm coffee, filtered, cold or instant coffee, or warm instant coffee, or cold espresso given at 1 week apart, had the largest increase of salivary alpha amylase. That's SAA for short. So it had this increase in SAA in cold coffee, independent of gender, no gastrointestinal symptoms. This is what was showed. So the changes in SAA in gastric secretion had no effect on cortisol levels, and indicates that coffee ingestion did not increase stress levels. Coffee stimulates gastric secretion, but does not accelerate gastric emptying. So what that basically means is, as we'll talk about briefly, coffee has an effect on the digestive portion of getting digestion started. So in those salivary alpha amylase, those enzymes that are secreted, those are secreted in your mouth, and that's what gets the digestion started. So as far as the risk of gastroesophageal pathology, at the time of the study, the findings were limited, so further study needs to be done. Further investigation would have to be done as far as the link to coffee and the increase in functional dyspepsia. Dyspepsia means upset stomach or indigestion that many people suffer with. It's partly due to how diet plays a major role in heartburn, and many foods can relax the lower esophageal sphincter. The lower esophageal sphincter can get relaxed. Certain foods in your diet can relax this lower esophageal sphincter, and that allows food to come back up and to cause heartburn or to cause reflux. Patients with dyspepsia are encouraged to avoid aspirin and nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, those NSAIDs, smoking, drinking alcohol, and coffee. The study also discussed whether coffee consumption has a direct link to certain types of cancers. For instance, cancer of the esophagus, of the oral cavity, of the stomach, the pancreas, the GI tract, and gallbladder. Coffee has a link to colon motility in the small intestines and gallbladder stones and other factors as well. So the conclusion of the studies were that the research is scarce, and it kind of found that coffee seems to favor the first steps of digestion that we spoke about. It's the first steps, early steps of the digestion process, which stimulates gastric, biliary, and pancreatic secretions. Most data suggests that the direct effect that coffee has on GERD, which is gastrointestinal reflux, does not have a direct effect, rather a combined or additive effect to other risk factors such as obesity and poor diet. So obesity and a poor diet have a more compound or a worse effect on gastroesophageal reflux. So coffee alone has not really been shown to have any negative effects on the body, although more research does need to be done. Coffee does have a positive effect on digestion and the overall health of the gut microbiota. But if anyone is sensitive to coffee, let's go over some other alternatives that you can try. So, caffeine is absorbed faster without food in your stomach. So it's best to drink coffee with food, because the fact that it gets absorbed faster can cause the jitters. It can cause other digestive issues. So if you drink coffee with food or drink it right after, just keep in mind that coffee is highly acidic. You might want to try some teas. Teas like green tea, matcha, rooibos are lower in acidity. Black tea is high in tannins. Tannins are a polyphenol that is present in many plants. So an article that was published in PubMed in 1998 by Katie Chung said that tannins are reported to accelerate blood clotting, reduce blood pressure, decrease serum lipid levels, which is cholesterol, produce liver necrosis, which is hepatocytes, uh, which can cause the death of liver cells. We'll get into that in a little bit. And it also helps to modulate immunoresponses. So, as far as the liver necrosis, too much tannins can actually have a bad effect, which there are tannins in a lot of foods that we eat, anything that's derived from plants. Also, wines has a lot of tannins in it. So, in order to counteract the consumption of all those tannins, you might want to neutralize it. So, you can add milk or lemon to your tea. Eat foods that are high in vitamin C's, and baking soda can also have a reduction or help to neutralize those tannins. Chicory coffee, that's something I never tried before, never even heard of it, but it has a coffee-like taste, and it's from chicory root that is within the dandelion family. Lemon water is high in vitamin C, and it also will help to hydrate you as well, because a lot of times people that drink a lot of coffee tend to feel dehydrated. So drinking lemon water might be another option. Also, chai tea, which is a masala tea. You can combine that with milk, make a nice chai latte. Those are usually pretty good. And it has about 48 milligrams of caffeine, which is still about half the amount of coffee. Apple cider vinegar. But if you take apple cider vinegar, only limit it to about 1 tablespoon per day. Also mix it with water. You should mix it with at least about 8 ounces of water, because that acid that's in the apple cider vinegar can also erode the enamel on your teeth. And you want to make sure that you dilute it with water, and then the apple cider vinegar that you drink, make sure it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it. You want to get just straight apple cider vinegar, and it can also assist in weight loss as well. Ginger tea is high in vitamin C, magnesium, and it helps improve digestion. Yerba mate, which is one of my favorites, has about 85 milligrams of caffeine. It's stronger than other teas, but what I kind of like about it is that it doesn't give you that punch, that acute effect of caffeine and that real fast boost of energy. It kind of like elongates itself throughout the day. And when I drink it in the morning, I have some before maybe 10 or even before noon. Towards the end of the day, I'm able to sleep fine with no issues. Maca is an herb that grows in the Andes Mountains, and that can also give you an energy boost. That's something else I never tried. Some of these things I need to try myself before I go suggesting them. I'm not suggesting them. This is just what I found, the research that I've done. These things can give you energy boost. So another one is carob adaptogens. These are things from plants or mushrooms. Dandelion coffee, also something I never heard of. Cordyceps, hot cocoa. Who doesn't enjoy a nice cup of hot cocoa? And others as well. But as always, check with your doctor or your healthcare provider to make sure that drinking any of these substances is not going to cause any major issues, especially if you already have gastrointestinal issues or digestive problems. So that is going to end this podcast for today. The next time I talk about caffeine, I will address the issue from the standpoint of a mental health aspect, because the DSM, which is the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, does have a section in there about caffeine intoxication and caffeine withdrawal. A lot of times when people stop drinking coffee, they go through caffeine withdrawal, they go through the headaches and everything else. So that is mentioned in the DSM, because anything that alters your mood can be considered a substance. So something to look into. Again, thank you so much for watching this podcast or listening to this podcast. The website is the James Way for Real. That's the email is the James Way for Real at gmail.com. The website, the James Way for Real. Here the channel is the James View here, and it's the James View -Y5H on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram, Facebook. You can see down in the comment section all the other links. Also, I have a new book that's going to be coming out. Don't let the title scare you. It's not what you think it is, but it's going to be a very interesting read. The title is Devious, Deceitful, and Conniving Women. So it's Devious, Deceitful, and Conniving Women is the title. Like I said, don't let it scare you away, but it's going to be a very interesting read. And as always, if you like the channel, please subscribe and share with others. Make sure you hit the like button and subscribe so you can get notified hit the little bell as well. That'll notify you of any new videos or anything that's coming out. And again, the book will be available on Amazon and KDP Publishing. It's already available on KDP for download as well. And again, it's Devious, Deceitful, and Conniving Women and the People Who Enable Them by James Clark. Thank you. Good night.